Does it make sense, Lucy, for you to what we're doing, move down? Is that camera going to be closer?
I think it focuses on whoever's like speaking. I think it tries to.
It doesn't really matter. I'm just looking at the light.
Yeah. I'm happy to move here. I don't mind, as long as I can just touch this pad. Do you want to swap? But then I guess you all move down.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Well, it depends. If you're saying that the camera is fine.
I think it does try to catch everyone.
Okay.
It's very,
all right, then
very high tech.
Yeah.
It's working very well.
I mean,
It
okay,
should be
cool.
a new office.
I'll just turn it off for the next like couple of minutes.
It should be our new office.
Sienna, do you know how many people we're expecting, just so we know when it's makes sense to just get started?
Definitely some more than this, but I would say wait maybe another minute or two, and then you can get started with introductions.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for your patience. We are about to start, and really delighted, of course, that so many of you could join. And I know many others will be listening to the recording of this. We, of course, had to move this because London, like the rest of the UK, is in the midst of another record-breaking heat wave. And of course, we see everything from schools being closed, trains being cancelled, hospitals under pressure, and of course, temperatures threatening people's health. And the reality, of course, that for many people, they don't have the luxury of escaping into air-conditioned offices or fans. Climate change, as we know, is something that is coming. It is already here, and it tells us something very, very profound, of course, about our societies and our countries and the world we live in. That this is no longer a question about tons of carbon, but a about the inequalities and injustices that exist in societies within and between countries, of course, on everything from wealth to health to geography to race to gender, disability, etc., and how we respond to this crisis. And particularly what is fueling this crisis, of course, is our fossil fuel industry. And so we're delighted to have really some amazing guests with us. And on my right, first, we have Sylvi Sabrina, who's a researcher at the Indonesian Center for Environmental Law. Opposite, we also have Dewy Puspa, who's the head of Department of Knowledge, Resource Development and Management at WALHI. And I'm particularly delighted that you're here. WALHI is Friends of the Earth, sister organization, Friends of the Earth Indonesia, a membership organization of 506 member groups, representing over 1 million people and with 29 offices all across Indonesia. And both organizations seen as some of the most important voices, both not just in Indonesia itself, but regionally and globally in the fight for climate justice. And we will also be joined by Emmanuel Musia, who is the Executive Secretary of CORAP, which is the Coalition of Civil Society Organisations for Monitoring of Reforms and Public Action in the DRC. Hoping he'll be on line with us shortly, but whilst we're waiting for him, we are going to get going. And really what we're gathered here, of course, is to hear both of your perspectives and Emmanuel's perspective about how we begin to transition away from fossil fuels towards energy sovereignty. To be able to look at what the realities of these diverse contexts look like, how we make sure we have holistic and interconnected responses that connect everything from social protection to implementation standards, but also recognize the importance of energy sovereignty and how we can take that to make sure that the global to the national to local, but also the local to national and global, and how the realities of different global south communities and networks and countries can be represented. And this is a very central part of the conversation, not just in Indonesia and around the global south countries, but also here, where we see many, many people struggling with meeting energy bills, the weaponizing of inequality against climate action, and the need for us to make sure that community energy and energy sovereignty sits at the heart of our solution. So I'm going to turn to you first, Sylvi. If maybe you can just share some of your reflections and thoughts on where we are.
Okay. Hello.
Sorry, before you start, I did forget. Sorry, my apologies. After the speakers have spoken, there will be an opportunity for questions. So please, if at any point you've got any questions, put them in the chat. We will collect the chat and then we'll integrate them to our speakers.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, you can start. Sorry. Oh. Sorry. Emmanuel. I was under the impression you were joining virtually.
Yes, it was what I was planned, but my network is not very good. I have all applied. Then okay, when I finished my other thing I was saying.
Well, we're glad you're here.
That's right.
Like you grab a breath, there's some water there.
Yeah.
And we're just, Sylvi is about to start, and then I'll come to you. Sylvi.
Yes. So hello everyone. My name is Sylvi, as you introduced before, and I'm from the Indonesian Center for Environmental Law. We are a governmental organization that's based in Indonesia, and we also focus on research, advocacy, and policy development in the field of environmental law. So to start what I'm talking about, the rest of the sessions, maybe I would like to start with 3 questions. Like, what would actually make the transition away from fossil fuel politically and economically viable in the global south, particularly like Indonesia? Well, first of all, we have to make it realized which Indonesia is actually, we're very deeply entrenched with macroeconomics and structural dependence on fossil fuels. The fact that last year in 2025 we exported around 390 million tons of thermal coal. It is worth about 24 billion US dollar. And actually, it is down from 450 billion US dollars in 2024. So like before that, we already exported that much of a thermal coal, but then it gets get down, but it's still, yeah, we still have exported a lot about the thermal coal. And on the other hand, we also get caught up in the fiscal trap, means that Indonesia's government is already allocated around to 22 billion US dollars annually just on broad energy subsidies and compensations to our state-owned enterprises. This also coupled with domestic incentives such as the domestic market obligation, because we do have that, our government. And in a bigger context, Indonesia, we do have renewable energy targets, and it is stated on the General Energy Plan targets. It is reaching around 23% by 2030, and it is achieving by 55% by 2050. But on the other hand, our reliance on coal is projected, and it is decreasing. The target is like 41% of by 2030, and it is also further reducing by 11% by 2060. Means that we do have the renewable energy targets, but we also still heavily dependent on fossil fuel. And on the other hand, we do have a national general plans for electricity, and on that plans we do establishment of a clear pathway to reach the peak emissions by 2035, and we also try to achieve the net zero emissions by 2060 or sooner. And the roadmap targets an energy mix consists of 49%. So we do have a target of energy mix, 49% of renewable energy and 26% of fossil fuel, with carbon, again, CCS by 2060. Means if we already have the net zero emissions by 2060 or sooner, but we still have a target regarding the fossil fuel. And it is supported by the CCS, which very questionable. Anyways, we do have some regulations. It is a two keys regulation about the phase down of fossil fuel. The first one were presidential regulations, and it is stated that it is mandated that the development of roadmap to accelerate the phase out of coal-fired power plants. So we do have the mandates to accelerate the roadmap, but also it is still a mandate. It hasn't like we don't have any details about that, but it's already mandated in that presidential regulations. And we also it is also mandated about the restrictions of the new coal-fired power plants, though this is very subject to specification and conditions and exceptions. And another thing is that we do have regulations, and it's on the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources regulations. It is number 10 of 2025 regarding the energy transition roadmap for the electricity sector. It is consist of they are providing the technical guidance for early retirement, and on that regulation, they do incorporate the just energy transition consideration into implementation. So on the good side news, we do have some just energy transition considerations, and we do have some technical guidelines, but we haven't really done much about it. But yeah, at least we do have some ambitions and targets. Another thing is that there is no there is no operational definitions about the standardized framework for just transition that has been established. So even though we do have some two key regulations, but we do not have like the standardizations of the framework. And therefore, the follow-up of the transition away from fossil fuel in Indonesia must be specifically tailored to navigate this domestic complexities, since we do have a lot of fragmented regulations, and the roadmap must establish a clear framework for the industrial decarbonizations, including the capital plan. And most importantly, we must guarantee that the entire transitions process remains strictly aligned with our environmental compliance and biodiversity protections, because sometimes it kind of we kind of forget about that. But yeah, I think that's all for my short presentations.
Perfect. And we'll have plenty that we're going to discuss together. Over to you, Sylvia, and maybe you can talk a little bit about also the framework, the task for it in Indonesia.
So yeah, actually, in the process in Indonesia, yeah, we have. I will continue what the Sylvi said before. So we have a challenge, a major challenge. How the transforming really right now is not very good way, yeah, because yeah, while he identified, we have the big challenge, yeah, and contradictory policies. First, yeah, we see that in the other policy, our government still put the coal-fired power plant as main of the plant for the electricity. So 54% of electricity generation comes from coal. And the big challenge, because of our regime right now, yeah, they're ambitious, targeting for the economic targeting 8%, and mostly the targeting are driving the expansion of the extractive industry and also the fossil fuel consumption. So that's also the big. And the other problem, yeah, related this about the monopoly by state-owned company. This is also can relate regarding how we are growing the renewable energy from the community. What we call how the renewable energy or energy sovereignty. We have a big challenge because the monopoly by state-owned company. And the other problems regarding the geographical mismatch. So the source that's become in Sumatra and Kalimantan, but the center demand is from the Java. You know, the Java, the island that very the population is big. Yeah, Java and Bali, that the demand high. And the other problems about the contradictive one policy with the other policy. So it's like Sylvie said that, yeah, our government acknowledge about the renewable energy, but the other hand, our government they still put the electricity supply business plan, yeah, regarding the fossil fuel, also coal and fossil fuel. And yeah, the big challenge also mostly the renewable energy. What is the project that's become dependent. So still that dependency, yeah, to grow the renewable energy. Actually, more than 45 or 40, more than 50% that's become from the debt. So that's also big challenge for Indonesia. That you know that Indonesia already have a big debt issue. And yeah, that's the other. So when we talk about the TAP issue, we are in the last Santa Marta conference. Our government is not coming there, and yeah, of course, this is regarding the commitment, regarding the political will our government to serious phase out for the fossil fuel. So yeah, we have a challenge on that. Within that, in Indonesia side, we have a challenge how the governments can what is can yeah have a strategy, yeah, ambitious to phase out the coal or fossil fuel issue. So yeah, yeah, that's what we see. Yeah, I think we have right now a challenge, particular how this is can make the energy sovereignty. Yeah, become from community. We have a big challenge on that.
Great, thank you. So basically, to you, Emmanuel, and we talk a lot, obviously, about the energy transition, and but we also know that some of the logic of the same extraction of that we saw in fossil fuels and its impact on communities and displacement and poisoning land, water, air is now a new reality also in minerals as well, the rare earth minerals and metals, and obviously often Congo is talked about as one of the places where we're seeing that conflict in real terms. And obviously your organisation looks at and monitors at a broad level. So it'd be interesting to also see what the context looks like in a place like Congo, where you're also dealing not just with energy poverty and inequality and the context of the global south, but of course a new front also about conflict over rare earth minerals and metals.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm sorry because I'm a little bit late.
Okay.
Because I'll decide to come directly because I'm not sure with my internet. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to meet a friend from Indonesia. Maybe I know that most of them are online. And just to say that I can't wait because next week I'm supposed to be in Jakarta. It will be my first time, and yeah. The question is very clear. I can understand from what they say, there are no too much difference in the context about energy transition. Then the first thing that I have to say is the ambition of the DRC government. The DRC government say that actually they are the country solution for the climate crisis. Why? They said they are country, why we say they are country solution, because we have strategic minerals, we have forests. As you know, actually, DRC is maybe covering around of 60% of the Congo Basin forest. Then also with the Congo rivers, we say that we have also water, fresh water, which is very important in this context of energy transition. Yeah, but one big question that we ask actually is, when you say you are a solution, when we talk about energy transition in the Congo Basin, in DRC, it is for who this energy transition? Because if you look in DRC, we don't have this need to change maybe the energy consumption. More than 90% of energy that people are using in DRC actually is from hydropower, is from renewable energy. You know, we don't have the problem to change fossil fuel energy by renewable energy, but the most problem of energy transition in DRC is related the wood, the maybe how we call it cuisson propre. It means that most than 94% of people are using charcoal or wood for the kitchen. And I don't know, I forget the the specific word in English, but for the need of kitchen, maybe if you want me to use that word.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good.
This is the big issue of energy transition that we have in DRC. Then, when they say that, okay, we have a solution, it's because they want to resolve the global problem, you know? They want to give the strategic minerals, they want to build the big dam, Inga Dam. I don't know if you are informed about that. DRC want to build one, that one can become a first large dam around the world, the Inga Dam. They want me also to offer the forest that we have. But in all of that vision, there are no the local community and the indigenous people benefit. They are not part of that. Because actually, if you want to resolve their problem, is to find the solution for the kitchen, for the cooking maybe need, you know. And when they give strategic minerals or other aspects, it is not for the people, just to promote corruption. Some people will become very rich around that contract. And one example that I can share with you actually is the collaboration that DRC are developing with US. We come to sign a new contract between US and DRC. Why? Because DRC go to the president, the DRC president go to the US president asking him to be involved in the issue of war that we face actually. Then he promised to give to the US the strategic minerals to help the US to give to us maybe the peace situation, you know. They say, okay, we'll give you cobalt, we'll give you lithium, we'll give you all of that strategic mineral because you to give us the peace, but it is not really, you know. Since they signed this contract, the main purpose it was the peace issues. But since they signed, until today, people are still killing and everything. But at the same time, this contract push the DRC authorities to change constitution, to change some lawyers, to give space to that situation for them to be enjoy with all the money that country want to give. Just to say that the transition must be just. That is why we say this transition is for who? Because local community, indigenous people are nowhere in all of that contract, in all of that negotiation they are made. Yeah. And the last thing that I can share with you is related the oil and gas. Actually, DRC is not the big country, one of the big country of exploitation of oil. We have just a small exploitation, but the vision now is to become a big one. You can see the contradiction because at the same time, we want to be a solution country, but at the same time, we want to become one of the larger exploitation country of oil and gas. That is very sad to see how they can just manage something just for themselves benefit, you know. And for now, they have launched the call of thunders for maybe 55 blocks of oil around the country and 3 blocks of gas in the Kivu Lake in the east part. And they are trying to get some partners who will make exploitation of that oil and gas project. And on that, you can just imagine how main local community area land can be destroyed because most of maybe more than 50% of all of that oil and gas block is located in the local community land. Yeah. The 30% is in the protected areas. you can imagine what can be the consequence of this kind of project. This is what they want, because they think that money will come very quickly and local community will lose everything: land, life, identity, water, and everything. That is why we say we want this just transition. I've shared with Nick one report that we are sharing. Actually, we will launch it officially next month in DRC. Regarding maybe it is a white paper for the just transition in DRC. What is going on? What is the situation today? And what is the kind of transformation that we want to have for the future? It's all that. This is my story to share with you. I think it can help in this kind of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you for all this. And maybe just say a few words and then we can maybe move into collective conversation. I'd say that when, whatever, 20 plus years ago, the climate justice movement, which created through Friends of the Earth and other social movements, we always said that this question was never about just reducing carbon. It was always about reducing injustice, and that we needed to be able to look at the climate crisis not as a separate crisis, but as an inextricably linked and a byproduct of both an economic model, which forces many developing countries into commodity dependency, so that the only source of income that they have is to exploit whatever natural resources that they have, to get the foreign income to be able to import the necessities, and at the same time the fact that more and more countries of the global south are trapped in debt, which means that they need to exploit more commodities simply to pay the debt service of for those debts. And in recent times, I think we saw, of course, in Africa, when the cyclones hit Mozambique, that Mozambique had to come to the City of London and beg for more debt-creating loans. Country I'm originally from, Pakistan, when the flood hit Pakistan had to ask for another IMF loan because of those climate impacts. And we see these impacts are deepening in every country, and countries find themselves, of course, unable to be able to respond. And if we wanted another example of that, of course, was during the COVID pandemic, when more countries in the global south were spending more money on debt repayments than they were on protecting their own citizens, on health, on all the measures that we in the global north, our governments were intervening in their health systems and putting more money in, making sure that workers had furlough and income in many countries. Of course, people were just left penniless. Now, this goes to the question that you were, and the very point that you were saying, that even 20 years ago, we said that what we need is a just, equitable and ecological transition, because this transition cannot simply be a carbon transition. It needs to understand its relationship with our ecosystems, that more, of course, that the climate crisis worsens. It combines the ecosystem collapse, which is the very things, of course, that we all rely on as humanity, but that is linked to an economic inequality and an economic system, which also has challenges because of resource use and resource limits as well. I mean, it's striking that at the moment, I think we every year we use globally about 100 billion tons of material use, when a sustainable level should be about 50 billion, and we're about to increase it to about 160, 170 billion, going totally the wrong way, and that, of course, being very unequal. Somebody in the UK, an average person, is using about 20 tons of materials each and every year. If you're in the global south, you're on 5 average, but of course, if you're in the continent of Africa, you're in even less. Your footprint on all of these things is less. So thinking about that, and the points that all three of you were raising, that the energy transition requires some fundamental, not just good policy, but it also requires questions of like finance, technology, about what's appropriate and then being it at a level. I'm just reminded that sometimes we have to keep reminding governments that when they signed the Climate Convention and the Climate Treaty, and again when they signed the Paris Agreement, there were obligations on the global north countries because overwhelmingly they are still the most responsible for causing this crisis. That, you know, this word common but differentiated responsibilities and capabilities was always to understand that for many countries, the challenge of poverty eradication, sustainable development sits very, very central, but also that global north countries have access to whether it's technology or more resources. And it's shocking that even at this moment, when we have so many resources, that I think about an average of 55% of all global expansion of fossil fuels will be done by the global north, not the global south, where huge issues of energy policy. So finance, I think, becomes a very, very central question in this about how to deliver this transition. And in the climate negotiations, what we call the national determined contributions, the plans that every country brought forward, the UN estimated the cost of those, and those were very limited plans. They were not dealt with the requirements of adaptation, all the loss and damages that are already happening just on mitigation. The UN estimated that would require between about 5 to 7 trillion by 2030, which is about $1 trillion per year by 2030. And you see, sometimes people say, oh, well, there's no money for the like that 1 trillion. And I'm always reminded of the studies by, I don't know if you come across Jason Hickel, who's an academic, and he calculated the unequal exchange. So the fact that minerals and metals can be exploited from DRC or coal from Indonesia, but the value is somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? And he calculated that if you included lost development, simply from the 1960s onwards, that would be about 152 trillion. That was all. If you included labour that's exploited in all the products that we do, that adds another 10 trillion per year. If you included the fact that the developed countries have overconsumed the carbon budget, that would be something like another 170 trillion. I mean, the figures, whichever way you look at them, dwarf the amount of finance, climate finance and aid. So when we know finance is such a critical issue, maybe one of the first questions we should ask ourselves in this is, you know, are there ways in which we can, you know, secure the resources that are needed to enable just transitions, both at a local level and at a national level, and that are equitable in the different countries. So I'm just wondering whether you've got any reflections or any thoughts in the work that you're doing.
Yeah. So the first thing we must put when we talk about the energy, is not commodity. How we must put energy as a right. When we talk about the rights, there's the talk about how everyone can accessible to the energy, and how everyone can be participate, can be manage their energy, and they can choose what kind of the renewable energy they want to use it. And we are must put it, when we talk about the energy, this is not merely a commodity, it is a common goods. So we must put that thinking about the energy is the right. That's the first. And when we talk about the rights, of course, this is also include about the finance, about the technology, about the environment, also. So actually, the community, they have the potential for the renewable energy. It's like in Indonesia, several communities, they develop their own energy based on, it's like the microhydro or solar panel based on a community. There's a very impact and more participate from the community. So when we are see what the government's doing right now, because the project of the energy transition is too large, and of course, we have a big model, yeah, expensive, yeah. And I think this is also potential for the curve, yeah. But we think until now, yeah, our government still using that. So why we are, pushing how the government or the other actors, they have the mechanism for the direct financing to community, to therefore to build, to facilitate the community to build their own energy, the small scale, and of course there's also impact small, yeah. I mean the impact um, for the what is the environment, because when we see the project large scale, the impact is not only deforestation, but also the conflict, yeah, human rights violation, and the disaster. We found in the several area in Indonesia, it's like Pocok Lerak in East Nusa Tenggara, where the geothermal there, the conflict happened, criminalization, and also the violence. So when we talk about the transition, energy transition, this is not only about the climate. This is also about the environment, about the how the system environment, and also the human rights. Why we see what our government doing right now is the false solution, because they just see about the what is decrease emission, but actually that's a big, because this deforestation happened there, and then the violence and also the disaster happened there. So what we are demanding right now, yeah, how the government and also the other, they have a regulation to protect the people to develop their own energy, what we call the energy sovereignty. Because until now, yeah, it's like I said before, yeah, we have the barrier, the regulation barrier, that in the regulation there is no recognize and protection for the people who they have initiative to develop their own energy based on the natural resources. So we have a several same example, yeah, the good example for the community. But the question, why the government's not support that? Why the other actors who give the fund, yeah, they do not see how to direct finance to the community, yeah, to support them to develop their own energy. So yeah, we must to see right now the scheme of the direct of the financing, of the climate financing, because what we see in the climate financing, this is this is a very limit and small for the community. Mostly the corporate, the big corporate bank, yeah, they assess that, yeah. So who the impact of the climate crisis, who the get benefit? That's a big question. So why we are always push, yeah, regarding the direct financing to support community. And of course, we are always against our to the government and also the international stakeholder about the principle. What we talk about the just transition principle, about the accountability, economic justice also, yeah, human rights, yeah, and also so actually civil society in Indonesia, we have, including WALHI, we have the principle that we are raised and demand to our government. It's like the accountability, transparent, participatory, and then ecological justice. So how the energy transition is not make the deforestation or other disaster, and transformative respect for fulfillment and protection of the human rights. So actually, we already have the principle based on the community, based on the experience. But the problems, yeah, how the government and other stakeholders, they have the political will to support, to encourage, and involve the community who have the problems or facing the climate crisis right now. So that's the impact.
Emmanuel, maybe just come to you in terms of this. I mean, for many years, people would always say, you know, the curse for many countries is actually the commodities. They're trapped. Countries that have the commodities are then destined for either resource wars, for human rights violations, for environmental degradation, and all of these things. And at the same time, of course, people want the right to be able to have dignity and some fundamental basics of life, good health and education and social protection, good wages. But for Congo now, you could say it's become even more acute, right? Because you are one of the lungs of the world with the forests. You are also the battleground for resource, the new minerals and metals. In that process, are you developing similar principles about what does community-owned energy begin to look like? How would you deliver an energy transition? Are you working on that as well?
Yes, but and I'm happy to share with you actually that we are pushing the government to develop or to adopt the national energy policy. It was just they was take a decision maybe last week. We have now since many years we didn't have it. Now we have it. But how? What was the process to get this national policy? For us, effectively, actually, we need to have a national policy who has a good regard on the maybe discussion of renewable energy, this energy maybe transition based to the local community needs. Then, when we start the advocacy, the government was able to maybe organize some activity, building capacity of actors to understand what is the national energy policy, how we can develop it, what is the tools, how local community can be engaged to influence that. In that moment, the government starts officially a process, launch officially the process to develop that policy. Then for them, it was just to give contract to a consultant, international consultant, who must develop this, making some desk research and make some proposition, all that, and we have a policy. But we told them it is not in that way. The process must be developed with the implication of local community. We are pushing them to include in the process maybe the consultation in the provinces, because we say, okay, you can have a desk research. You can make the consultation of just some leaders, some political leaders with the national level, but they are not connecting with the local level. They can't represent what really local community needs to bring on the table. And for that, you have to make a consultation. But by ourselves, with 11th Hour Project, one of our partners, we launch a parallel process that helps us to touch directly more than the 3,000 local community around the country. As you know, DRC is a big country, and we make effort to go to the local community. For many, it was the first time to have this kind of discussion for the energy future, because as you know, actually DRC only maybe 10% of people have access to energy, but we have everything. We have all the renewable energy potential that can give to all people energy, but maybe going out in Africa, in Europe, and so on. We have all the resources that we need. And this process was a big pressure to the government, and there was maybe include in their strategy the consultation. But because we know how always these actors like to do, that is why this parallel process that we developed before, it was a good thing because it helped us to give light to the local community regarding the question. They understand better what is really the energy transition, what is really the renewable energy, what is really what that can be the way they can adopt. And we go before the government, giving to them this understanding. And, by our process, we was able today to develop what we call the civil society and local community vision to the future of energy sectors in DRC. I can share it with you, you can see. And that strategy for local community and NGOs is like, I can say, like a Bible in the all advocacy. And we are happy because the national policy is adopted. We can say the influence of local community can be more than 80% in the actual document. But one bad thing for them, they can adopt this kind of document without to protect the companies, without to protect, that man for them will bring money, and they have include one section for the fossil fuel. We are not agree with that, but it is the fact today. But we are happy because this document is most developed, and it, like she said, the energy transition must be based to the principle. Must be based to the really need of local community, and we try to show them that it is what they have to do. Maybe it just something before to give you the floor. Just a little thing to add. Since 2013 and today, the government, for them, the main goal is to develop Ingaden, the big Ingaden. They have put all the energy in that big project. And since that time and until today, nothing is happened. And local community didn't living without any light, any energy, because they didn't want to push the local community agenda, the local community need, and they want just the big project will bring maybe too much money for the corruption and what they want. This is the situation.
Yeah, I mean, and from both of your stories, and of course, it's a global story, right? I think like 3.5 billion people are locked into energy poverty or need to use solid fuels for cooking and with all those health implications. Can we go to the questions online, and I'm going to come back to you in a second?
Yeah, we've got a question here from Dominic Coppins. Thanks to the organisers and speakers shining light on both key principles such as CBD, RRC, and detailed rules and challenges in Indonesia and DRC. The ICJ's landmark advisory opinion stressed the importance of equity and CBDRRC. A question for the experts from Indonesia and DRC. In your discussions with the governments, including trade departments, does the just transition, including the internal dimension, does that just transition push get traction? He goes on to say, I'm at the TESS Forum in Geneva, bringing together the climate and trade world, including from developed countries. We're also involved in trade-related dimensions of the TAF process, and looking forward to connecting further with panelists and other participants.
Great, thank you. I don't know if you want to start with any reflections on that. Just more on in terms of like in the just transition conversation. So we know, for example, in the last couple of years, largely through the pressure of civil society organisations and social movements, we've got just transition at the centre of the climate negotiations. For those who don't know the climate negotiations as such, traditionally there's been a negotiation channel with about mitigation, which is the cutting emissions, a channel which has been about adaptation, how do we adapt to a changing world, and then about loss and damage, which is the world has already changed, impacts are happening, and through the work, collective work of all of us campaigning, we said that there needs to be a fourth pillar of the negotiation, which is around the just transition, so that it was a central part of this conversation. And I think both WALHI and Sylvi were in Belém, in Brazil, where the just transition discussion took place. So I don't know if you've got any reflections on where you see Indonesia. Obviously, the Africa group was a very central call for the just transition mechanism. So, would you?
Okay. Actually, regarding the just transition, is that regarding the AOICG that has been going on, actually, we have this, it is a litigation ongoing process, but we previously tried to input our amicus curiae, if you guys are familiar with it, it's like the friends of the government. We tried to input the advisory opinions on that regarding climate justice, climate change in the ICJ, but we tried to do that, and sadly the litigation isn't going very well. they got approved. Yeah, but I don't think our government is like very aware of the ICJ.
Not really.
Yeah, I don't think our government is not very aware about that, and it's reflected on the Ministry of Environment and if the Ministry of Environment is not really aware about that, so is the trade.
Right.
So it is I think reflecting on the Emmanuel before, we do have some problem regarding the silo working with about the every minister and every national and subnational government. It is a big problem here in Indonesia, so that if our local government have a commitment to do some energy transition, and they do have that, they do have like emission and commitments, but they did not know like where's their parts on that, because the central government isn't giving them the signal like you have to do this and do that, and they do not have that information. And alongside with that, they also have they need a technical assistance or like transformation of knowledge. They do need that part. So since the silo part is like a big problem in Indonesia, and I think it affects the other sectors.
Yeah. We always joke that in the climate negotiations, developed countries play three-dimensional chess. They have huge delegations from trade to the economy, environment.
Yeah.
They know everything. And developing countries are always a handful of people looking. The environment people here, the trade people in Geneva, the human rights people over there, and not necessarily all thinking, how do we move together this agenda together? I wonder whether from both of you working on that just transition, both, I suppose the question, some people find it remarkable that it took until COP28 for the first time for the climate negotiations to actually use the word fossil fuels in the text. But since then, obviously, Belém, there wasn't the final agreement, as stronger a set of words, but subsequently in Santa Marta, the Colombian government brought together a number of countries and began a process of how could you have an equitable transition away from fossil fuels. I know your organisations were all involved in that. I'm just wondering where your reflections are about, are there now spaces and mechanisms that give us hope, and how should we all collectively work together to maybe help realise that? So, let me go this way, Manuel, this way. Do you want to go first, and then
Okay.
and then this?
Okay. So actually, UNFCCC, one of the mechanisms that we still hopefully they have kind of changed, but yeah, it's not going well like we are hopeful, yeah. But with the agreement, it's like the Paris Agreement, yeah, or other agreement in the COP. That can be one of the articles that we can push to our government. So it's like article in the Paris Agreement. Yeah, there's a good article, and then we are pushing that how the government implement that. Even, yeah, we have the problems in the national regulation or national political, yeah, but when we see the good sentences or agreement, yeah, article in the agreement, we use it for post our government. Even regarding the fossil fuel, in Indonesia, reflected in Indonesia, there is not much change. Yeah, still the same, and we think that our government still use the coal power plant and coal mining, yeah, as one of the energy, the what is the primary energy. So what we are reflected, of course, the global is also the good opportunity, but the big work, of course, Indonesia now, because this is related to the political will, yeah, about the political dynamic, yeah, political economy dynamic in the national, and yeah, how this is can be linked with the local situation also. So that's what our reflection. So yeah, we use the good article to push our government. Even yeah, we have the other side to push our government, but we can be using or we can showing the best practice from the community to our government. If they use this, so the benefit can be high including the economic benefit. So what we are doing right now, we want to showing the best practice from the community to our government. If they are support the community, they can get the economic benefit also. Yeah, so that's what we are doing, and related to the UNFCCC, I think we still using that as one of the opportunity.
Yeah, I want to maybe pick up on that opportunity, because the things that you talked about, framework at a national level in the community, that was very central to the call by civil society organisations for the just transition mechanism, the Belém Anatolia mechanism, and that was really hard fought for in Belém and won. And I'd say thank you to the Friends of the Earth groups. I think 10,000 people in the UK took action to remove pressure. Our Secretary of State, Ed Miliband, to back that, because of developed countries. And because in that mechanism is these frameworks that transition can only be just if the community is involved.
Yeah.
Are you thinking from your work in Congo about how to use that also with the COP coming up this year and next year, the COP being in Ethiopia and being seen as an African COP? Are there chances and opportunities for you to bring that community agenda forward?
Yeah, this big event who is coming will be a big opportunity, to bring this situation. But sometimes, there are some challenges like a logistical challenge, because in that space, in our perspective, we have to bring local community themselves. They must come many to speak about their problem, to meet that one who is creating that problem. protest against that person, to show them that we are tired to live in the same situation without any solution, without any maybe clear plan that you develop to bring us in a good way, resolving our needs. You know, for us, we think that this space is very important, and we have to build it. We have to develop a good strategies that can help the connection between local communities. Because if you can see in Amazonia, in Indonesia, we can have some difference, but the context is same. Local communities suffering in the same way. You know, we have to go together to strengthen our strategies and to make great our space. I know that it's like in Belém, you can see that some sponsor of the COP the 13 was Total, was maybe the same actors who are doing bad things, who are making false, bringing false solution. You know, for us in our strategy, we have also to say, if we will attain this kind of space, okay, how we can really influence that space. We must be there or not. If we are there, how we can maybe be more visible, trying to make change really. If not, which kind of space that we can create promotes maybe this voice of local community. For me, this is the main reflection that we have to do, starting by now until maybe this next COP and the Africa COP, as you say, and we believe that it will be really, we hope that it will be really a Africa's COP, but it is not because it is in Africa that will bring it or make it African COP. This is what I can tell you. We have to start reflection. We have to be together, trying to build something very strong, differently, to see if it can change something.
Sylvia, and then I've seen we've got some more questions online.
Actually, Indonesia is not, we don't have like any specific religious and education framework, but the closest thing we have is that we do have this just transition framework and CIPP, but it is only guidance. It's not like legally binding and so on. But yeah, it's one thing that we can that's a great news for that. And another thing is that since we don't have any discussions regarding the just transitions, the discussions regarding just transition mechanism and the global is very helpful to us, because it will produce some kind of guidelines that how can we do that in order to make the just transition happens. And another thing is that our regulations, Indonesia's regulations right now is we've mainly focused on phasing down coal-fired power plants. Means that we're not phasing out yet, hopefully, but they're just going to phasing down. And it needed to be more ambitious, because since we do have like this heavy regions of coal dependent regions. And also we are seeing a setbacks of renewables and energy mixes. And we back then we still don't have any just any potential frameworks, and the closest thing is like the JP frameworks that the JP is producing.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions online. But one was about the kind of mechanics of community energy. Would community energy be run by the community? Does the community want to run the energy generation, or is it privately owned corporation that will be delivering that and running that system? And then there's a second question from Piali Mandirata. How does one ensure accountability when governments and corporations work together to sell off forests and minerals at the cost of their populations? There's a big picture question for you.
Do you want to start, Anil?
Maybe in the second question,
Yeah.
for me, I think actually we have to think how to strengthen the capacity of local community themselves to be able to be organized and to fight if it is that word that I have to use, because always the government and companies are together. The government sometimes are ready to make effort or to do anything to protect the company's interest. It's like in some local community where we have Perenco. Perenco is British French companies who are doing exploitation of oil in DRC. Around the Perenco installation inside of some villages, they are the militarization of the space. And today, local community are not able to go into the forest in their village. It is in the same place where there are rivers. Now it becomes very difficult for them to go there. It is because the government is facilitating this kind of practice to protect the interest of that companies. For me, one thing is to work hardly, closely with local community to see themselves be able to rise the problem. I like the way in Amazonian mostly the local community are very engaged. If they say no sometime, they are all together on the ground on the road to say no, and the government sometimes are ready to change plan. It is more different with our context actually, to strengthen the community, local community, indigenous people to be able to do that. It is one of the, for me, it is one of the response to that question.
Well, it is very interesting questions. First of all, for context, our local government, they do have some, like I said before, ambitions to do some renewables energy transitions. But again, they don't have any informations about that in details yet because they do work in silos about the national and local governments. And on the other hand, one of in our coal-dependent regions, which is South Sumatra, the local government has the forum. It's like a public consultation forum, but it's still ongoing, so we haven't known yet what the forum will be about and producing about what kind of forum is that. But we have to look very carefully about that forum because we are afraid that is only like ceremonial things. Like they do like invite the organization, the people, but we are afraid that it is only ceremonials and only to fulfill their public participation checklist box. Yeah, we still have to look in details about that. But on the other hand, yes, we do some hope in that forums, and yeah, maybe we can look forward to that later.
Cool.
Yeah. So we have two questions on that. Yeah. I start with the second because that's the fundamental the issue about the accountability. Yeah. But it's not only about the accountability, but how this is also about the responsibility of the corporate who already damage to making the deforestation or the human rights violation. But yeah, I continue what the Sylvi said before. Actually, in the several agreement, they put about the FPIC. Yeah, FPIC. But the problem, there is not implemented yet. Yeah, that's a very fundamental. What will happen right now? Yeah, because of the process, FPIC is not the FPIC in the fundamental part. So that means when we want to push the accountability, we can check that the FP they doing in the right way or not. Yeah. Even in Indonesia, like in Indonesia, we don't have the mechanism regarding the consent, only the consultation. But where is the place? Where is the way that the people can choose? Okay, no or yes, when the project comes. So that's important, and we think that we must to push the our government how to clear the mechanism of the consent. And yeah, I think we can use from the mechanism, the complaint mechanism, yeah, and that's one of the way to push the corporate, regarding their responsibility on that. And the first question, one, the energy that's become coming from the community. That can make a community, they have the sense, belonging their energy. And it's like I said before, when the community, they are have their own energy, one, this is can make a more participation, and then make the minimum negative impact. Yeah, and of course, this is also can what is also can contribute to the economy, and we must put it. This is also part of the green jobs. What the green jobs when the whole process this is clear, and clean. There is no conflict. There is no deforestation. There is no disaster. Yeah. So we must put it. Why we push the community way? Yeah. In the scheme of the just transition, because they are get the impact on crisis, and then how they are getting subject on.
Thank you. I think I'm being told we need to be wrapping up. I mean, it's always time flies when you're having a good conversation. Of course, from our side, and also one of the campaigns we're running at the moment, and our Planet Over Profit campaign is for a business, human rights and environmental act, so that companies in the UK are held accountable for their supply chains and the environmental and the harm that it is being done in the global south. And of course, many of us are all part of a bigger push at the UN as well for business to be for a new business human rights act, particularly to look at not just people's human rights violations, but look at their ecological, environmental, and other impacts. I will just maybe close by saying many of the things that you've talked about the importance of community energy, about why communities need to be such a central part, are actually also very key here in this country as well now. We are now seeing rising forces weaponizing inequality against climate action. We're seeing far-right forces in communities saying climate is being done to you, it's not for you. And we're already seeing communities being told you should have to campaign against whether it's solar farms or wind farms because they're nothing for you. And that, I think, asks the big question of us, that not only do we need clean energy, we need affordable energy, but we also need communities to own that energy, community assets. And unless people start to see themselves and communities see this transition is about them, we will not get the social license for the kind of thing. And we will not be able to deliver a transition which is genuinely just and equitable, ecological, and that provides communities on the ground. I think and we haven't had time to discuss it here, and I know you've been doing a lot of work on this, and I know WALHI has been doing a lot of work, and I presume Manuel, very, very similar, which is a much bigger question, that things like water, that things like land and energy, which in the last 40 years have largely been handed over into the hands of private corporations, need to be brought back into public control, because it's only when we have democratic control over them that they are seen as the commons. They are the building blocks of not just economy, but also society and community and all of our well-beings. And as such, they need to be more equitably distributed and shared and protected. And we need to change the lens in which we begin to look at this. So I'll just end by reminding all of us that each and every year, global countries spend $7.4 trillion in direct and indirect subsidies to the fossil fuel industry. And so often this question our governments are always faced is that there aren't no money to be able to do the things that we want. There's always a question, there is a lot of money, it's just going in the wrong direction. And so our side is also for economic justice. And I just want to give a commitment from Friends of the Earth. Next year, the UK hosts the G20, and one of the big conversations at the G20, of course, will be about debt, but it will also be about wealth taxes and about corporation taxes. And unless we fix those rules, unless we end the debt burden, unless we make sure that the polluters are paying their taxes, unless we make sure that the billionaires are paying fair taxes, there is not going to be the resources for those policies that we want to be able to come. Have I got time? I'm being told, I was told we should.
We've got 5 more minutes.
We've got 5 minutes. Yeah. Oh, all right, then I'm more than happy to go 5 minutes. So I'm going to ask you, this will be your last contribution. What is the hopes of the next step, and particularly in relation to the TAP, and the next TAP meeting? So I'll go, which order would you like to go? This way? Okay. That'll be your last 1 minute, and then we can close. Okay.
Absolutely, we would love to have it we would love to every country like adopting the chat tab, because I know only France since do that right now. But yeah, we hope that the transition away from fossil fuel roadmap is actually implemented in each own country, including Indonesia. I think that is the big hope for that, for the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think for the moment, maybe in my region, the debate on the TAF is not already started locally. For me, as the next step from now is to launch more information, to share more information about the TAF, to analyze more and to see how local community can be benefit on these issues, to see if they are up, if we can up on it, on this or not. What can be a solution for us? You can see. For me, this is what I can say. We need to discuss. We need more information to discuss and to analyze what can be a benefit for us in this initiative.
Yeah, when we say just transition, so what the just? So we must to clear and demand, push the government what the just that we are elaborate or we narrative from us. So when we see about the just, how this is the people center, how the environmental center, how the forest center, how the including the finance, how this is going to the community who get the impact, direct impact now, because of the climate crisis. So what we hopefully the government and the all actor who responsibility for the climate crisis right now, they must to respect and fulfill how the all agenda must be protected and go to the community. Like the technology, about the finance, about the finance, and then the capacity and how the community can get recognized because of their initiative to protect the forest, to protect their animal. Yeah. So what we hope that all right now must be going to the community to support the community, to facilitate the community, to protect, recognize what the community doing right now. And for the government, they must to apply what we see, what we call about the ethic, what we call about the right. Yeah, so that's important. They must to put in the all policies regarding the rights to nature also. Yeah.
So we have a busy agenda ahead of us. We have got the COP in Turkey where the just transition mechanism will be up, and hopefully we can then next year from Santa Marta, Ireland and Tuvalu will host, and hopefully and next year the big debate and conversation of climate talks will be in Ethiopia on adaptation, and hopefully the baton can also be passed on that the TAP moves to embed itself within the African continent as well. So I want to thank all of you, Dewy, Sylvia, Emmanuel, but also to thank Sienna and Nick and Lucy for helping arrange all this. I get to do the very easy job of just turning up, and thank you to all of you for joining, and have a safe day, rest of it, and hopefully please do look after your health when it's done. So thank you everybody who's joined us online and people who will listen to this in the days to come, and thank you to everybody in the
Thank you.
Oh, and thank you to the ECR for allowing us to use their air conditioned room at such short notice. So thank you to the European Climate Foundation.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Why don't we do one photo all of us?
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Morning, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
No, thank you
Sid,
for
and
the
Nick.
invitation.
Thank you, Asad, and also
Thank
thank
you.
you, Emmanuel.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you, everyone. We are still in our office.
Wait. We can take a picture together.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, would you like to be by the screen?
Yeah, please take a picture.
Just check
Please
it
take a
if
picture.
it shows okay. Sometimes screens don't.
I'll do two. I'll do two.
Yeah, we can be here.
Come.
Oh, okay.
Ada kita nggak?
Ada.
Okay.
Is Morris included?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, one more.
That's cool. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And let's do one again. Just stand here.
Okay.
Close together.
Okay.
Great. Do you want a solidarity one?
Yeah. We always have to do it.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bang Dana nggak diajakin
No
Kak?
problem. It's all on your phone.
Yeah,
I'm busy.
Bang Dana katanya di luar Kak.
Yes.
We know
And next week I'll be in Jakarta.
we want to make it
You're busy?
one of the biggest.
Yeah, I will be there.